We live in the stupidest timeline possible. We live in a stupid age. I am resisting saying the R word, and you know the R word, etard ray, if you want to use the big Latin, because there are people who get offended when you use it. But that's the only word I can think of other than stupid to describe the people in charge of us these days. Good Lord. And the people online, you just get made dumber. So Mike Waltz, who is the president's national security advisor, comes out on national television on Fox News with Laura Ingraham.
We made a mistake. We're moving forward, and we're going to continue to knock it out of the park for this president.
That's Mike Waltz. That is the national security advisor who set up the group chat, who added Jeffrey Goldberg. Do not believe the conspiracy. And this is my frustration with Mike Waltz. He goes on to say we're having the finest minds look into who added Jeffrey Goldberg. You know, when you get added to a chat in Signal, it tells you who adds you. I got added to a chat. It told me who added me to the Signal chat. You know what the screenshot shows? For Jeffrey Goldberg, you've been added to this chat by Michael Waltz. Mike Waltz added Jeffrey Goldberg. By the way, people are blaming Jonah Goldberg at the Dispatch because people are stupid. Mike Waltz set up the group chat. He says he made a mistake, and then he tries to obfuscate on who added Jeffrey Goldberg. He did. We should be able to move on from this now. We should, but we can't, because even though Michael Waltz is on Laura Ingram's show on Fox saying I made a mistake, you've got water carriers out there saying, hey, guess what? This is a conspiracy. I bet China compromised his phone. No, it didn't, you idiots. Mike Waltz made a mistake. He said so on live television. I bet it was maliciousness. Someone stole his phone and added Jeffrey Goldberg to the group chat. Oh, yes, someone had knowledge of this classified conversation on Signal, got Mike Waltz's phone, modified their face to look like Mike Waltz's face to be able to open his phone, find Signal, get into the right group chat, and add Jeffrey Goldberg. Can people stop being stupid for just a moment? Mike Waltz on live television says, I made a mistake. Yes, he made a mistake. We should all be able to move on. But you know why we can't move on right now is because Pete Hegseth got very braggadocious and bullying and went after Jeffrey Goldberg and said there were absolutely no war plans listed in the group chat. Basically saying, I dare you, Jeffrey Goldberg, to show what you got. So Jeffrey Goldberg today does. It turns out Pete Hegseth was listing the times planes would be taken off, their munitions, bombing runs, all of that sort of stuff, which, by the way, unless you really want to be adult about it, it's very easy to pull up intelligence scales for the United States government. And it turns out, according to the Director of National Intelligence, the information related to the launch of missiles or aircraft in active combat runs is considered top secret. So yes, according to the government itself, Pete Hegseth put top secret information in a Signal chat that had a reporter. Pete Hegseth denies he put any classified information, and so now you've got this word, well, it wasn't classified, it was top secret. And so today, Jeffrey Goldberg says the attack plans Trump advisors shared on Signal, here they are. And so the Trump supporters are like, well, yesterday he said it was war plans. Today he says it's attack plans. Which is it? War plans or attack plans? Stop being stupid, people. It was a stupid group chat that we shouldn't have to keep talking about. And the reason we're talking about it is because Pete Hegseth got his back up, opened his mouth in Hawaii, said he didn't send any sort of classified information. And it turns out, yes, he did. But guess what? It did not have the locations. It did not have the targets. It did not have the names of the intelligence officers relaying information. So thank God for that. And guess what happened? The Houthi got blown up. We should be thankful the mission was successful. Instead, both sides want to squabble about, well, what words were used? What words were used? What level of classification was it? I don't care. I care that the Houthi died. But can we just not say, hey, guys, yes, it was a mistake. We shouldn't have done it. We're moving on. No, you can't, because all these people think they have to perform on television for Donald Trump, whether they do or they don't, and they've got to attack Jeffrey Goldberg, and they've got to say bad things about the media, and they've got to lie about what they did or obfuscate or twist words around to say, well, Jeffrey Goldberg says I released a war plan. No. Now he says it's an attack plan. No. Now he says it was classified information, but it wasn't classified information. It was top secret information. And then the Democrats are like, this is the worst thing ever. You know, we dropped bombs on the Houthi. You know what didn't follow the airplanes? People, like what happened in Afghanistan. You got Susan Rice out there. Just listen to this woman for a moment.
It's stunning. It's likely the biggest national security debacle that any professional can remember. Let me explain a bit why this is so crazy. First of all, national security advisors convene what is called the National Security Principles Committee meeting. This is the cabinet level group that makes the most important decisions and recommendations to the president on national security. It's all those people that are on that chat: the Secretary of State, Secretary of National Intelligence, the CIA director, and others. By the way, it's bizarre to me that it appears the acting chairman of the Joint Chiefs was not on that signal chat.
Oh, so this is Susan Rice on MSNBC. It's the worst thing ever. You had all the people on the group chat. Bodies did not fall out of airplanes. And then you got Mark Warner, Intelligence Committee chairman when the Democrats controlled the Senate on CNBC.
And if the text comes out and there is packaging and target information from the DOD delivered on this channel, that's one of the reasons why I think Secretary Hegseth should step down for the good of the administration. And again, I think there is a little richness of what you said in the fact that if you go back, way back in the old days as well, and oh my gosh, Hillary Clinton was using the wrong email, or Joe Biden's incompetent. Come on, guys. If you don't think this is a case of incompetence and a pattern after a variety of other kind of sloppy use of classified information, then you've not been following the last 60-plus days that I've been following.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, it was a sloppy, incompetent thing to do, but it was not a pattern. It was one thing. Hillary Clinton used an email server in her basement repeatedly. Joe Biden decided to escalate a withdrawal of Afghanistan because he wanted the symbolism of being out before September 11th, 2001. And all of Joe Biden's generals were saying, no, you need to wait until the winter because there's a war season, a harvest season, there's a planting season, there's a winter in Afghanistan. And if you evacuate right now, the Taliban are going to run over everything. And he decided to do it anyway. Here is from the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. That is a government entity that released this information in December, precisely what day was it? December 19th, 2024. From the Biden administration. This is from the Biden administration. The Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency has called on senior officials and public figures to transition to secure encrypted messaging applications like Signal. This is the Biden administration calling on senior officials and public officials to move to Signal. And now you're upset. Signal's not secure. Yeah, Signal actually is secure. Signal is end-to-end encrypted. The only way that Signal isn't secure is if someone has direct access to your telephone, which in these cases, these were these men's personal cell phones, and it was in their hands, and so their phones were not compromised. The information was not compromised. The only compromising information was from Jeffrey Goldberg. And by the way, you know what? This whole thing would have transpired had Jeffrey Goldberg not been on there because of Mike Waltz putting him on there. There's no conspiracy. Mike Waltz put him on there. Had he not been on there, this entire thing would have transpired with not a single person in the entire world knowing, and we wouldn't be on 3 days of talking about a stupid Signal chat and ignoring the fact that we're bombing the Houthis because they fired on us 170 times in the last year, and Joe Biden was too busy drooling his soup out of his mouth to actually launch missiles at them. That should be the real story. The real story should be that Donald Trump is cleaning up a mess that Joe Biden left for him, but we can't because Pete Hegseth had to get his bravado up and challenge Jeffrey Goldberg, who decided, you know what, I'm going to call their bluff and show them what I have. And that first he called it a war plan, now he's called it an attack plan, and so now the Trump administration, like, what? He said he had a war plan, now he's just had an attack plan. Which is it? This is so stupid. This is just the most stupid thing. And the people who have to carry water for it, he didn't release anything inappropriate. Yes, Pete Hegseth actually in the group chat released information that our own intelligence guidelines say should not be released except on secure government channels. Signal, even though the government said use it for general messaging, makes it very clear the same government that said use Signal also said, except for all the classified information, we have specific channels to release classified information. Pete Hegseth screwed up. He doesn't want to admit he screwed up, but it wasn't a major screw up. The left wants to make it the biggest screw up ever. No, the biggest screw up ever was probably having bodies fall out of airplanes in Afghanistan. And the same damn people who did not care one bit about Hillary Clinton's email server are suddenly appalled. This is the worst thing ever. People grow up. This is why we can't have nice things. This is why all of us have this senses of malaise, because we're not being governed by adults on either side anymore. We're being governed by petulant children, and the national press corps as well is rooting for one side or the other. Meanwhile, we've got Houthi rebels firing on us. We've got Hamas trying to kill Israelis. We've got Russia trying to drag its feet on a peace deal. We've got China surrounding Taiwan. We've got China surrounding the United States of America right now. In Central America, the Chinese ships are cropping up and the Chinese military is cropping up. And in this country, we've got $35 trillion in national debt. So yes, please, let's not move on from a signal chat and actually pay attention to the real threats. Let's sit around and twiddle our thumbs so MAGA can say it was a CIA conspiracy against Donald Trump and China's involved. And the left can say, you thought Hillary Clinton had such a bad day. This is the worst thing ever. For the love of all that is decent and holy, people, just stop trying to carry water for each other. Just recognize it was a screw up. It was not the worst thing ever. Yes, Pete Hegseth should not have sent that information, but you know what? Here's how I reasonably interpret it. Pete Hegseth knew there was information he shouldn't send. Pete Hegseth withheld some very specific information he could have sent. He sent other information he really shouldn't have sent. But at the end of the day, it compromised nothing. The mission went off without a hitch. And by the way, I have to say, as someone who wants Donald Trump to succeed, I actually want Donald Trump to break the left. I want Donald Trump to destroy American universities. I want Donald Trump to reset a world order in our favor. I want Donald Trump to kill the Houthi. I want these things to happen. I think it would behoove the people who work for Donald Trump to, at this point, say, we made a mistake, won't happen again, we're moving on, and then shut the hell up. And if the left wants to bellyache about it, well, you know what you and I can do? We can say, you know what? They admitted their mistake and moved on. You still can't admit Joe Biden screwed up in Afghanistan. But God forbid we do something decent, normal, and just move on. Instead, everybody just wants to yell at each other, which is why we as a nation can no longer have nice things.